Hello and welcome to the 2014 MLB Redraft. Here, as always, is Andrew Varga, and I am joined by my friend Nick Aguilera. Hello, Nick.
Hi Andrew, how you doing?
I'm blessed as usual, and we have a special guest with us today, a member of the 14th Inning Stretch Blaze radio show, Alex Weiner. Hello, Alex.
Hey, how are you? How you doing?
I'm blessed still.
Of
All right,
course.
so we are going to get right into things. We have the 2014 draft today.
hmm
And before we draft, let's go over the rules once again. Each player, usually each player would pick 15 picks. This time we were just going to be picking 10 each, and
hmm
they are alternating as usual. The player must have signed in that draft. Any players that were eligible for the draft but were undrafted are okay, although there's very few undrafted players in the big leagues. No players who were signed on the international free agent market. You want to sign the best player available, so you don't consider you're not building a team, you're just drafting the best player. You don't consider fit or signability. And it is okay to consider players were drafted to a team where you think they might have had bad coaching or training and they would be better without that, but you should put more weight on past performance and expected future performance. All right. Well, I'm thinking because it is his first episode, Alex Weiner, do you want to go first?
I would love to go first, but before I go first, I would also kind of like to go over what actually happened in this draft for a quick moment because the top three did not pan out the way that people thought it would pan out.
Oh no. The past three
Brady
drafts that
Aiken.
we have done, the number one overall pick has not really done very well.
Yeah, Brady Aiken was the number one overall pick in this draft, and he didn't even sign.
And now he's
He
out
was,
of baseball.
and now he really struggled when he did sign. So yeah. But it was funny. I was kind of going over this draft, and I looked at a Baseball America preview of it, and they said that his sort of intangibles are very comparable to Clayton Kershaw. So look out for Brady Aiken. And after reading that, I was like, oh no. But yeah, he and Tyler Kolek, the top two picks, just did not work out very well. So I will not be taking either of them. With the first overall pick, I definitely have to go with Matt Chapman. Already, he's got just shy of 20 WAR for his career, 2 Platinum Gloves, an All-Star appearance. He's the face of a franchise essentially at this point, and he's definitely going to be on the leaderboards as far as statistics for third baseman in the league, and then definitely a top 5 finisher in the MVP award race. I think multiple times. So. Fully comfortable taking Matt Chapman with the number 1 pick here.
My guess is that all three of us had Matt Chapman with the first pick.
Yes, I did. So
yeah,
pretty
so
easy. There.
Pretty clear cut. Yeah.
I have the a baseball prospectus mock draft. Once again, Keith Law. It seems like they've just wiped all his mock drafts off of ESPN. But I have a baseball prospectus mock draft. This was from posted on May 21st, so a couple weeks before the draft. And Matt Chapman was not listed in the top 34 in that mock draft.
Really? Huh. He was taken 25th, so he was in that range, but.
All right. Well, Nick Aguilera, I'm going to let you go next because I went first in the last draft we did.
All right, that seems fair.
Mm-hmm.
So for my second pick, this guy was originally the 34th overall pick in the 2014 draft. He's got an incredible season last year, one of the best rookie seasons from a pitcher we've seen in a cool minute, and that's going to be Jack Flaherty of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Jack Flaherty. Well, I had him number 5 on my big board.
Really?
And I will say I only had him there just because I kind of have my doubts about how well he will replicate last year. Now, if he replicates last year, he's an incredible player, but you never know how he's going to replicate that.
No, I don't think he's going to replicate the second half of the season that he had, of course. But the year before, 3.34 ERA. This year, in 2019, 2.75 ERA. Both those years, the FIP was 3.86, 3.46. So if he falls somewhere in the middle there, you're still looking at a really good pitcher.
I had him too as well. Yeah, he also led the major league in WHIP last year too.
Alrighty, well, I'm up with the number 3 pick, and I'm going to go with the man who's number 2 on my big board, and that is Aaron Nola And I'm going with Aaron Nola, partly because I don't know if people realize this, but he came up in 2015. He's over 19 WAR for his career. So you compare that to Flaherty, who's at 8. And so he has got the 11 WAR advantage. He's got that banked. And I think that for the rest of their career, I think Nola will be at least 11 WAR. He won't be 11 WAR worse than Jack Flaherty. So I'm going to go with Aaron Nola with my third pick.
That's fair. I looked at the numbers on Noel. I thought last year he had a down year. Not really. He looked pretty solid, and he was definitely second or third best player in this draft.
Yeah, in 2018, he had that breakout season where he was third in the Cy Young Award race, if I recall. So I think that the expectations were sky high. He was still solid last year, and I think that's more what we're going to get. But, yeah, I had him third on my big board, too. No complaints.
And he's gotten away from Gabe Kapler.
That helps.
All right, Alex Weiner, pick number 4.
Pick number 4. So I battled back between probably the 3 or 4 guys for this spot. But I think I'm going to go with Trey Turner here. Trey Turner, not great as far as the WAR is considering how long he's played, but when he came up, he was dynamite second in Rookie of the Year. He led he's a MLB leader in stolen bases, pretty solid hitter, about as good of a leadoff hitter as you want in the major leagues right now. Can play multiple positions. So after bouncing back and forth, I like all the tools that he brings to the table, and I'll go with Trey Turner.
He was the next pick on my board. And of course, he was drafted by the San Diego Padres, who then had that weird thing where they wanted to trade him to the Nationals, but you couldn't trade at that point. You couldn't trade players who had been drafted for a year. So he was a player to be named later for about 6, 7, 8 months somewhere in the Padres farm system. He was playing games for the Padres in the minor leagues, knowing he was about to be traded.
Who was he traded for? Do you remember?
Will Myers.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Great trade, if you ask me.
Wonderful job.
All right.
Mentioned that in the mock draft, he was projected to go number 17 to the Royals, and it was mentioned that he had really had his stock fall. His stock had fallen from the year before.
He still went 13th, though.
So what 13th? But I believe that in 2013, he was being projected to be a top 2 pick.
I bet the Marlins wish they did that instead.
Would have been better than Tyler Collect for sure.
All right. Well, that leads us to, what is this, pick 5?
Pick 5.
Pick 5. I know this one might not be the popular pick, but I think this guy really has a chance to shine in the big leagues. Has got a little bit of taste of what he can do in 2017, where he's 4th in Rookie of the Year voting in the National League. This guy is the first guy off the board that is not drafted in the first round. Drafted in the 5th round in 2014, 142nd overall pick, and that's going to be Rhys Hoskins.
Really?
I think we disagree there. I had him number 10 on my board, and it's because I looked up his hitting stats, and they weren't as impressive as I thought.
I was closer on this, actually. His slugging has gone down since his rookie year. He was unbelievable, and it's kind of gone down a little bit. He's still a good power hitting first baseman, but
yeah, I get that the power numbers have gone down a little bit, but the one thing that I'm looking at is the plate discipline. Last year, he led the league in walks, and you combine that with 40 home run, 50 home run potential with his power, you're looking at a huge, huge bat in your middle of your lineup.
And another Kapler bump guy.
Exactly.
That's fair too. Yeah, he was somewhere between 2 WAR and 2.8 WAR over his first 3 seasons, so he never really had that jump yet. But who knows? He's only been in the league for 3 years. Anything can happen at this point.
I feel like last year he kind of got a little bit of bump in that WAR down because he was playing left field instead of first base. But, I still think he can be a great first baseman.
Okay.
All right. Well, I have the number 6 pick. I'm going to go with the fellow who is number 4 on my big board. I don't like drafting players from this school. Kind of gives me a little bit of concern.
I know exactly who you're taking.
Me too.
It's technically a power conference school, but they kind of operate like a mid-major. I'm gonna take
Their baseball program doesn't.
Well, they had a certain left-hander that they
I mean,
allowed on their team.
that's fair.
I'm going to go with Michael Conforto with the number 6 pick. And he was another guy who came up real early, was part of that 2015 Mets team. If you remember, there was that time where his hitting stats were comparable to Bryce Harper through this certain amount of games. Hasn't really been that good, but he's that 12.4 WAR, put up 3.5 last year. And I think that's something he can do through his early 30s.
I love this pick because 125 OPS plus over his first few years. I think he can just flat out hit, and I think he's a middle of the order bat for. I agree for, I think for years to come here.
All right.
So I guess I'm up.
You are up, Alex.
I am up. I would have taken Conforto. So do I go with a pitcher or a hitter here?
Best available.
Yeah, best available. I guess
have
I gotta
no
go.
idea who this pitcher would be. I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, take the
I'm gonna
pitcher.
Go with
Go with the
Huh?
pitcher. We're both curious. Go with the pitcher.
Go with the pitcher.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to reach a little bit, but I'll make it a little interesting. I'm gonna go with Luke Weaver.
Wow. Okay.
2.94 ERA when he was healthy last year. He was really good. Overall when he was healthy, his command looked a lot better than when he was in St. Louis. I think he's in the right situation. And I think that he had like a 1 WAR last year with like limited starts. I think that if he could get healthy and be healthy for a few years down the line, I think that he's definitely a solid 2-starter on a good team. And for a D-backs team where you have an older Bumgarner, you have Zach Gallen. I think with Robbie Ray, I think that he totally works in that rotation as a guy that you don't want to face on any given day. So I'm gonna go with Luke Weaver.
All right. I like that pick because I think Luke Weaver has a chance to be, like you said, a very good big league pitcher. I just had a couple guys ahead of him that have had a longer track record and more big league success than him, and probably a little bit more upside. But I can see.
Is there a Milwaukee Brewer you have a little bit ahead of him?
No, there's no Milwaukee Brewers ahead of him.
Huh. Well, I definitely have a Milwaukee Brewer ahead of him. I had him number 14, and I had him that low because, one, as mentioned before, he doesn't have the track record. 2, I'm really suspicious of guys who go we're not going to get Tommy John. We're going to do something else. Seems like I can remember one time it's worked out, and that's Masahiro Tanaka. Everybody else ends up having to get Tommy John at some point.
Well, we hope he's the exception.
Well, we'll see. I'll take the risk.
All right.
There's a few risky pitchers on here. Anyway,
yeah, there are a lot of risky pitchers here.
There's a lot of risky pitchers on this list, so we'll get some more of those.
All right. Well, Andrew, what pick is this?
This is pick number 8.
Pick number 8. I feel like I'm getting a steal here. This guy. Let's talk about the draft that the Oakland Athletics had. They got Matt Chapman, the 25th pick, who's arguably the third or the first best third baseman in the American League. And then you got this guy who they got in the 16th round in 2014.
They did not draft him.
Oh, they didn't draft him.
Astros drafted him.
The Houston Astros got this guy in the 16th round, but the A's managed to steal him away, and now he's one of the better center fielders in baseball. That's going to be Ramon Laureano.
I had one player ahead of him on my big board, but he's a very good pick. I'm going to tell you the player that in late 2017, the Astros got Brandon Bailey in return for Ramon Laureano.
Oh, no.
And Brandon Bailey last year is a 24-year-old in AAA. Had a decent year, 3.3 ERA as a starting pitcher.
In AAA. While
in
Ramon
Double-A.
Oh, in Double-A.
Pardon me if I said AAA. Now, he also walked 41 in 92 and 2/3 innings. So
while Ramon Laureano was hitting 24 home runs in the big leagues.
Yes.
Andrew, you read my mind. I literally was searching up Ramon Laureano trade as you said that. I was curious. All right.
I think one of the most interesting developments for Ramon Laureano has been that pop that came up out of nowhere over the last year. 24 home runs up from 5 in 48 games in 2018. Really turning out to be a really good player.
Now,
Expect
go
that
ahead,
out of
Alex.
5 WAR player.
Exactly.
There is a concern with him that maybe he's not a center fielder long term. I think a lot of his defensive stats have been boosted by he has one of the best arms in the game. You remember
Oh,
he
yeah.
threw out Xander Bogaerts like 10 times in that one series against the Red Sox. But his glove, especially Statcast, is not a fan of his glove in center field.
I think he would make a great right fielder with that cannon.
I agree. Well, I'm going to go with the number 9 pick here. I'm going to take a man who's ranked number 6th on my board, who had a good year last year, who I think is just getting better and better. And that is Alex Verdugo, who was drafted in the second round, the 62nd overall pick by the LA Dodgers out of Saguaro High School in Arizona. Of course, was traded for Mookie Betts.
Mm-hmm.
And he does have character concerns. There was the incident which Gabe Kapler failed to correctly report, but he is 23 years old, so he's got that makeup issue. But he's 23 years old, had a 114 OPS plus, showed he can hit lefties and righties, and is about to get everyday playing time with the Dodgers. And I think he's about to be a star, or pardon me, with the Red Sox. And I think he's about to be a star. Now he does have the back issue as well.
Star. Huh. I like Verdugo. He was tremendous in AAA. His last couple of cracks at that. He was very solid in the majors too. He's gonna have to get used to playing right field in Fenway, but I'm sure he'll figure it out. I had him in the early teens on my big board.
Yeah, I had him at 12 on mine.
Well, maybe a bit of a reach. I had him number 6.
All right,
So
Alex.
Andrew, did you like the Red Sox Dodgers trade's looking a lot better for the Red Sox the more you pass by. So
Mookie
rewarding them there.
Mookie might just sign with them in free agency straight up.
Oh God, that would be such a flex.
All they had to do is give up the draft pick, and they got off of Price's contract, and they got Verdugo and Jeter down.
And they get their superstar back.
Andrew Friedman would need like a few days of just like rest, just turn off the lights and just kind of sit in his room for a little bit.
I think Heim Bloom projected all this.
It's those raised projections.
Yep, we all know Heim knows what he's doing.
Yeah. All right, so that leaves me with the 10th pick. And then it's like I have a hitter I can go with, and I also have a couple of pitchers. I'm interested. Do I go with the risky pitcher?
Go with the best available, Alex.
Going with the best available, and I'm going to go with the guy who's had a few years of a track record. I'll go with the hitter instead. I'll go Kyle Schwarber.
Right.
He went 4th in the real draft, and taking him 10th here. WAR not that great over his first few seasons, but he does have the bat. 115 OPS plus for his career. He was awesome in the World Series after he came back, after he was injured all year, and they were able to put him at DH. 971 OPS in that World Series. And so, he already has the track record of a guy who could really help out in the postseason. Defense is an issue. He's certainly going to be a DH on an American League team before long, I can imagine. But lefty bat, and I really like his swing too. So I'm going to go Kyle Schwarber.
All right. The only concern I have with Schwarber is the lack of walks and the high strikeout numbers. So I had him 9th on my list. I still have one guy ahead of him that hasn't been drafted. But yeah, the walks kind of scared me. He doesn't really get on base via the base on balls often.
The 120 OPS plus was higher than I was expecting. I thought it was more like I thought last year was more like his 2017 year where he was only league average with the bat.
He was quietly very good last year hitting wise. Yeah.
All right.
Pick number 11.
That's right.
11th pick. Well, this is a guy that I had right above Schwarber at 8 on my big board. This guy's quietly putting together a very nice career. No one's really noticed it yet because he plays in Miami. He was a 3rd round pick, 76 overall, and that's going to be Brian Anderson.
Whenever I see Brian Anderson, all I can think of was there was one Marlins beat writer, I can't remember his name, but he got very upset when people suggested that Brian Anderson was not a top 5 third baseman in the game.
I don't think it's that good of a career yet, but he does have some promise. I don't think he'll ever be a top 5 third baseman. I don't even think he'll be a top 15, but he's got good bat to ball skills. Pretty much he plays solid defense and really just kind of hits the ball everywhere. Does a little bit of everything.
And he doesn't play right field a whole lot. He played 55 games last year, but plays more third base. But he's got a cannon for an arm.
Yeah, he has a
He's
great
got
arm.
he can. That's not an arm you want to run on.
No, he's kind of like a little bit like Joey Gallo, where he could probably play third and outfield and both play him very well. I don't know if Joey Gallo would play third now very well, but
No.
I think
Probably not.
Yeah, but I think if he would have stuck there, he could have gained some defensive prowess there.
All right. Well, it is time for me to make pick number 12. I'm going to go with a fellow who was referenced earlier. I had him number 8 on my big board, and that is Brandon Woodruff, who was drafted in the 11th round. A good find for the Brewers, who drafted in the 11th round, the 326th pick overall out of Mississippi State. And he quietly, when I went to his baseball reference page, I did not realize the season he had last year. 22 starts, 121 innings. So it wasn't as if he was eating up a whole lot of innings, but his FIP was 3.01. He made the All-Star team. Strikeout to walk ratio was almost 5. And I think that he quietly had a really, even though he made the All-Star team, he was still kind of quiet. He had a really good year. And I think that if he does that, he's a okay 2, really good 3 pitcher, and I think he can do that for a couple of years at least.
I was surprised by him too. His FIPS just over his first 3 seasons have all been really good. Like top 2 in a rotation, kind of good. And I always are like, when you think about the Brewers, like prospects for this season, it's like, they have, still have Yelich, they still have a couple bats, but is the pitching, last year they were able to get away with it, or they still don't really have a top rotation guy, but they do, and it's Brandon Woodruff. Really great postseason pitcher so far early in his career too.
Yeah, and the only thing with him is you don't really get the upside. He's not going to go out there. He averages fewer than 6 innings a game. He's not going to go out there and just shove for 8 innings, but he'll give you 5 or 6 quality innings and then turn things over to the bullpen.
Yeah, I like that pick. I had him around here. I had him 11th.
All right, Alex.
That leaves to me. That's right. That's me. All right. So we are the 13th pick. And here's where we're going with the risk, but the high risk, high reward. This guy is a flamethrower from the Chicago White Sox, and it's Michael Kopech.
Wow.
All right.
So Michael Kopech, obviously went through TJ, was going to work his way back, and probably pitch this season. If there is, hopefully he gets to pitch this season. He was selected 33rd by the Red Sox, part of the Chris Sale trade. Really awesome in the minor leagues before getting called up in 2017, 2018.
2018,
was it?
I believe.
2018. And then he went down. But I think that, at this point, you go with the guy who has ace potential. And I think that Kopech, even though there are some injury history stuff and some control stuff, has that ace potential. So I'm going to go with him.
All right. Well, I had Kopech all the way down to 19. I thought Kopech, the injury is just too concerning. The injury history alongside the control issues, I think it's just a little too concerning. If he gets it all together, he's a potential superstar. But as of right now, he just looks like a flamethrower who is coming off Tommy John, might not even come back throwing 100 plus. So we don't know, and that's why I kind of shied away from him.
High risk, high reward. Let's do this.
All right, and that leads straight to me. And this is another guy that's kind of high risk, high reward, but with a little bit of a track record. Last year, not going to sugarcoat it, he had an awful season over in Colorado. But the year before that, he was a Cy Young candidate. And his rookie year, he was a decent pitcher. So I'm going with Kyle Freeland.
That's a good pick.
Yeah, and this would be the Giants. So you'd put him in a pitcher-friendly ballpark instead of Coors Field. That would help.
He could shine.
That would help a lot. Yeah. He was downright dreadful last year, though.
Yeah, last year was not good.
Have him.
The year before that, he was otherworldly. I think he falls somewhere in the middle, maybe 3.6 ERA, ball 3.5. And I think he's fine once he gets out of Colorado at some point.
Fair.
All right.
Fair. I
Well,
like
this is going to be pick number 15. It is the last one before we go to intermission. And I'm going to take a fellow who I had ranked number 13 on my big board. And it is similar. I'm taking it for similar reasons as to why Kyle Freeland was just picked, although he hasn't had as good of a career as Kyle Freeland. He is the player who was drafted the highest in this draft that has been taken so far, and that is Carlos Rodon, who was drafted third overall by the White Sox. And I'm taking him basically just based on what he's done. I don't think he's going to do a whole lot more in his career, maybe, but he's made 90 starts, has put up a 4.08 ERA, has 7 career WAR, and I think if maybe he can get 3 or 4 career WAR, he'll be fine for this. I don't see anybody else who I think is all too much more likely below him in his career to end up with a total.
Yeah, I had Rodon at 23rd because each year his ERA has gone up and it seems like the innings are going down. He's only passed 100 innings pitched once in the past 3 years, and I think it's a little concerning.
Yeah, I had him around 30. He just consistently has been getting worse. Last year his FIP went way up, but he only made 7 starts.
And that's part of the injury.
His FIP was much better. Yeah,
injury scare for me.
This is much more of a floor pick than a ceiling pick.
That's fair.
All right. Well, we are at pick number 15, so that means it's time for intermission. We're going to start by going over some of the players who were drafted in this draft and did not sign. In fact, I'm going to include one player who did sign. But we're going to start with Brendan McKay was drafted in the 34th round, the 1,017th pick by the San Diego Padres, and did not sign. Paul DeYoung was drafted as a catcher in the 38th round. Yes.
Did not know he was a catcher.
1,151st pick by the Pirates. Here's a name. Patrick Mahomes was picked in the 37th round with the 1,120th pick by the Tigers. And then there's one fellow who was drafted in the 4th round with the 111th pick, who did sign with Baltimore but didn't last all too long in professional baseball, and that is Pat Connaughton.
Known dunk contest participant, Pat Connaughton.
Of course. You're forgetting one.
Who did I forget?
Picked by the San Diego Padres late in this draft. Johnny Manziel.
Of course.
Johnny Manziel was taken.
How could we forget?
Maybe
Johnny
signed with the
Baseball.
Padres. Maybe he should have signed with the Padres. Maybe he'll still be playing professional sports.
I think he's still technically under contract.
Maybe he can come back. Pull a Tebow.
Maybe. We never know.
Also, J.B. Pukaskis was taken by the Diamondbacks in the 20th round, and apparently he sent out a letter to MLB teams saying, "Do not draft me. I am going to college." And the D-backs took him anyway, and he just immediately said, "No, I'm going to college." And then he found his way back on the Diamondbacks. So I guess it's a full circle.
Well, it's always nice when stories have that happy ending. All right, we are going to go to the second part of intermission where we look at the players who were given qualifying offers, and teams gave up first-round picks to sign them. So you have a couple players here that make sense. Carlos Beltran, Brian McCann.
Okay.
And it sounds kind of silly now, but Jacoby Burry.
Yeah, at the time.
Nelson Cruz. I think this is the second straight year a team gave up a pick. Shin-Soo Choo signed that big deal with Texas. Believe we brought this guy up before, Irvin Santana.
That was the same as last podcast too. Nelly and Irvin Santana.
And then this one, who's ready for the electric right-hander? Buck Showalter is putting him into the game. Ubaldo Jimenez.
Oh, no.
Bring him in. Leave Zach Britton on the bench. We don't need him.
Buck said, Zach Britton should be the Cy Young. He's the best pitcher. And then didn't use him with the season on the line.
You can only use your closer in safe situations. Everybody knows this.
It's true.
Yes, on the road, you have to save your closer for the save situation, but then at home, it's okay to save them for the tie game.
No, then he just doesn't get the pitch like Zach Britton.
And that's a good point.
Yeah.
All right, let's get right back into this thing.
Pick number 16, Alex.
Pick number 16. I'm going with Sean Newcomb.
Sean Newcomb. Wow.
22 on my board.
Also 22 on mine.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Well, he was sneaky, pretty solid actually last season. They gave him some bullpen work, and that might have suited him a little bit better. But overall, 3.16 ERA and 9.7 strikeouts per nine. 8.6 strikeouts per nine. The walks have gone down since he's made the major leagues. His FIP is pretty consistent in the early 14s. So, I mean, overall, solid lefty that you can use either as kind of a 4-starter or in the bullpen. And I think he's been fairly reliable. So, still only 23 years old too. Could get better. I like Sean Newcomb here.
See, the only thing I have with Newcomb is that he is pretty much limited to the bullpen now. I don't think there's really a spot for him in that rotation anymore. So,
well, he's not going to the Braves.
In this situation, yes, but I still think that if we're drafting him based on what he's done already, he's pretty much a bullpen player already. So, I don't know. I don't think there's much growth for him from this year on.
Yeah, he turns 27 in a couple of months. I think 1, he'll probably be celebrating in quarantine. 2, he is definitely a reliever long term. All right, pick number 17.
Pick number 17, I'm going with the guy that I think has some upside. Another Boston Red Sox, and that's going to be the 26th overall pick in 2014, Michael Chavis.
He got off to that really hot start last year, and by the end of the year, I mean, if you just looked at his first 100 at bats or so, and then you look at his stats at the end of the year, he really slumped to end the year.
They figured out how to pitch to him. It's high fastballs and sliders. Gave him trouble.
Somehow they figured out how to pitch to him, but didn't figure out how to pitch to Pete Alonso.
I guess so. Somehow.
I guess he kind of had the same profile as Austin Riley last year.
Yeah.
Whereas he came back and struggled in the second part after the first 100 at bats.
Yeah, I'm very curious how he comes back in his next season.
I still think he'll be a decent player. I think he'll be a good player going forward.
I think so too, but like he got red hot and then had to go through like the rookie thing where like you start off really great and then they kind of figure you out and then he couldn't really adjust after that. So hopefully after an off season of working on that, maybe he comes back much better. He could play multiple positions too, which is helpful.
Yeah.
And he's generally thought of as being a pretty good defender, right?
Yeah, he's a decent defender over there. He could pretty much play first, third, second, anywhere he really needs to.
Yeah, that's a good pick. All right. I have the number 18 pick here. And I am going to go with a fellow who was an all-star last year. And do you guys know who that is automatically?
I do think I know who it is.
An all-star last. Oh, yeah, I know it.
Was he drafted in the 11th round with the 331st overall pick?
And he went to West Virginia.
Yep.
I'm going to pick John Means, who kind of came out of nowhere last year to have a decent season. Now, he wasn't an actual all-star. He was an Orioles representative all-star.
Should have been Trey Mancini.
Yeah.
Probably should have been Mancini, but I think they needed a pitcher. But I'm going to take him just because he had a decent year last year. 4.41 FIP is higher than you would like, but it's still okay for number 3, number 4 starter. And then Ciroli's age 26 season last year. I think that he can do that for 4 or 5 years, and I think he can be a pretty good player in the role.
His birthday's in 2 days. He turns 27.
Happy birthday, John Means.
I had him a little lower simply because the ceiling is pretty low. I think he's going to be like a lower 4s mid. I think he's going to be more like a mid 4 starter. But not bad, certainly. Probably he's made his last All-Star game, but who knows? We'll see how bad the Orioles are next year.
And also not much room for growth there as he's already 26.
Yeah, that's true. This is another, like with Rodon, it's another floor pick.
All right. Well,
All right,
Alex,
so that
you're up.
leaves me with the overall. Where are we at?
Number 19.
19th overall pick. There's a handful of risky pitchers here that I could take. My heart wants me to go one way. Well, not really my heart, but like this guy was so good before he got hurt. Heart, I guess. I'm gonna. You know what? Let's say. No, I can't. The injury history is too big. I'm gonna go with Mitch Keller.
All right.
He was pretty bad in the major leagues with the Pirates last year. Still young, pretty good in AAA before that. So the Pirates desperately needed some pitching. Brought him up maybe a little bit too soon. He's still how old is he now? 24 years, just turned 24. So that last year was age 23 season. I don't expect him to be a total ace, but I think he could be a top of the rotation pitcher if he can develop right. And he has shown that prowess before in the minor leagues. He was really good in Double-A in 2018. So I'm gonna go with him.
He's an interesting case, kind of like John Gray was a couple years ago, where the FIP was real low, only 3.19, but then everything he threw, he was just getting shelled every time he went out there. And he went on Effectively Wild, a podcast hosted by Fangraphs, and he talked about how when he was pitching in San Francisco, he was looking up at the big board, and the Giants' new big board, they've added advanced stats to it, and one of them is FIP. And so he looked up there and saw FIP, and he saw his number next to it. And he was like, I don't know what this means. Is it this good? Is it bad? And he said that he had never had a coach in the Pirate system ever talk to him about stuff like that. And so he went online and looked up all these advanced stats after he looked up FIP. And now, because he was playing at Oracle Park, now he's all familiar with sabermetrics.
It's pretty
The
funny.
Pirates aren't big on sabermetrics?
I don't think they are.
Clint Hurdle not browsing Fangraphs.
I don't think Ray Searage was out there preaching FIP. I think he was just out there telling him to throw sinkers and keep the ball on the ground.
And also to pitch up and in, too.
That too. Keep it up and in or down low, so that way they roll over it to the left side.
The Eric Hosmer experience.
Exactly. All right, so this is my pick, correct?
It is number 20.
All right. Well, this guy is going to be a guy that I didn't expect to be picking this high. Probably would have, if you would have told me this at this time last year, I'd be picking this guy in the top 30 in this draft. Probably would have laughed at you. But he got one WAR last year, hit 307, which wasn't bad across 140 games. This guy was god awful for the Houston Astros, but when he got picked up by the New York Mets, he had a pretty solid season, 138 OPS plus, and that's going to be J.D. Davis, 75th overall pick in 2014.
Played multiple positions too.
Yeah, very versatile, very, very good bat, as we saw. I don't think he repeats last year, but I think he'll still be a great piece going forward.
Now, he doesn't really have a position is also a problem.
That's true.
He's a bit of a butcher out the field, but I had him, picked him number 20 overall. I had him number 20 on my board.
I had him 14.
Oh, wow.
So
138 OPS plus.
Yeah, he had a decent bat, so I was banking on him finding a home somewhere. Maybe at first, maybe in a corner somewhere, but at least finding a home. So
he needed chili dips. He needed chili.
He did need chili.
Yeah.
A career 3.38 ERA, too.
Yeah, very dual threat.
That FIP is rough, though. 6.16.
Oh.
Hey, if you can throw a couple innings of 5.0 ERA baseball alongside hitting 300, you're basically Madison Bumgarner now.
All right, well, I'm going to go with the 21st pick, and I feel real silly. I've taken all these low ceiling, high floor picks, but I'm going to do it again with the number 18 pick. I'm going to pick a fellow who was drafted in the second round, 63rd overall, out of Alabama, where it just means more. I'm going to go with Spencer Turnbull. who was drafted by the Detroit Tigers last year at a 4.61 ERA, but he had a 3.99 FIP. And I don't think that Tigers defense behind him was all too good. So I'm willing to bet that he's more of a low 4, high 3 ERA pitcher. If you put decent defensive talent around him, and he took the ball for 30 starts last year. Now, he did also average under 5 innings a start, which isn't very good. But again, put a better defense around him, maybe that's better. Now, the thing that does concern me, in 17 record. I don't know if he knows how to go out there and win a ball game.
Oh,
Yeah,
Jesus.
I'm not sure if he has the coconuts out there. When you said you were going with the floor pick, you weren't kidding.
No.
I did not have him on my top 30.
Oh, wow.
I didn't either. And
Well,
I thought you were going to take Andrew Suarez after that introduction. You know, the low.
He said floor, not to the freaking basement, Alex.
Andrew Suarez did not make my honorable mentions, and my honorable mentions were 17 deep.
17. Wow. Okay.
Hey, man, all I know is I saw that guy live only allow 1 run in a Coors Field game. Been a fan ever since.
That was a wacky game.
It was a weird game. Tyler Anderson out-dueled them by throwing a shutout. That'll never happen again.
No, you went to a once-in-a-lifetime baseball game where two swingmen threw gems, and the only run was scored by Iannetta.
It was an Iannetta solo blast. That was it. I went to a 1-0 game in my first time visiting Coors Field, and I feel cheated.
Wasn't it like in the middle of July too, like in the dog days?
It was on the 4th of July. That's how I spent my 4th of July.
No fireworks for Alex that year.
No, there was a storm too. There was a storm that came in after the game,
Oh,
and
man.
so it delayed the fireworks show by like a half an hour.
That is rough.
We eventually got him, but you know, it took a long time.
I'm looking at the Giants lineup for this game. God, Austin Slater's hitting 5th. Alan Hansen is the number 6 hitter.
No wonder.
Kelby Tomlinson is
No wonder no
hitting.
runs were scored in this game.
Austin
No one could hit.
Jackson pinch hitting.
That's why it's more impressive that Andrew Suarez was able to do what he did, because the Rockies were starting their guys.
Weren't the Rockies? Isn't that the year they made the playoffs that you went to go see them?
2018.
Yeah, that was the year that they were in the NLDS.
So this was a playoff lineup with Arenado and Blackman and
just getting
and
shut
Story.
down by
by
Andrew Suarez.
Only Chris I could break.
The lineup also had Noah pinch hit
Cuevas?
Pat Valleca, but he was starting.
Oh man,
I don't remember him starting. I remember Cuevas.
Noah Cuevas.
I remember Noah Cuevas.
All right, well, I think we need to get back on track.
Let's get back on track.
Pick number 22 belongs to what?
Get this pick, Alex.
All right, let me get this pick. I'm gonna go with higher ceiling guy, a guy who I'm gonna go with Dylan Cease.
Okay.
Last year got his first taste of the big leagues and was bad. 5.79 ERA. Wasn't very good in 14 starts. But the year before that, in 2018, in Double-A, he had a sub-2 ERA. And in 2017, in A-ball, he was really great. He's essentially pitched really well everywhere. Just last year in the major leagues, just didn't have it. Still young. Good fastball. I think he's still a pretty high ceiling potentially. He's 23. You know what they say about high school arms, but I think that Cease has the tools that I'd want out of a starting pitcher. So I'll go with Dylan Cease.
Yeah, Cease is interesting because he's one of the lone real prospect guys on here, alongside Kopech and a couple other guys. But
and they're both on
they're both on your team. But I think that they brought him up way too early. I think he could have finished out the year in AAA because he was struggling a little bit there too, but the injuries forced him up. So I think they kind of threw him into the pool a little bit too soon. Didn't really know how to swim. So I'm hoping that doesn't stunt his development.
Yeah.
No life jacket.
No life jacket. They threw him right into the deep end.
Yeah, he was not on my list nor my honorable mentions.
Really? Not a Dylan
And
Cease guy.
I will say that it's not as if my 17 honorable mentions are the 17 best players. It's just the 17 players who I considered for the top 30, and when I looked through Baseball Reference and did not include.
All right. Well, what pick is this, Andrew?
You are on
23.
pick number 23.
23, the Jordan pick. All right, I'm taking a guy who came up last year, played pretty well for the Philadelphia Phillies. And this guy last year had 12 hits and 38 at-bats and collected .6 WAR in just 38 at-bats. That's going to be Lane Thomas.
Okay.
I still think
That's a deep pick right there.
it is a deep pick, but I think Lane Thomas is a guy that many people aren't aware of, but I think can really, or not for the Philadelphia Phillies, for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Okay. Yeah, I was okay.
Sorry about that, but yeah, he has good numbers in the minors. Career 750 OPS in the minors. Last year, 812 OPS in AAA, even though the balls were juiced. But still, I think that he can be a solid everyday player.
Well, once again, you picked a guy who is not on my list.
It wasn't on mine either.
Wow.
Not a bad one though. That's a pull though. That's a deep. That's
It is a
deeper
pull.
than
I
I
probably
thought.
could have had him lower, but I felt like this bottom of this list gets a little shallow.
All right.
Yeah, that's
Well,
creativity that needs to be had over these last few for sure. All right, Andrew.
I'm at pick number 24. I have the highest fellow available on my board was ranked number 19. He went to Cal State Fresno. His name is Jordan Luplow, and he had a 136 OPS plus and 261 plate appearances last year for Cleveland. If you weren't watching Cleveland, I don't blame you. That team was very boring, but he had a very good season for them. So I'm going to go Jordan Luplow.
Yeah, that was the next guy I had on my list as well.
Breakout last year. His hard hit rate went like skyrocketed up. I had him about 27, so I had him around this area. The only problem I had was just a lot of ground balls that he hit last year that found holes. So
Launch angle.
you got to work on that launch angle.
It's gotta get it to at least 80 degrees.
Because I was stunned at because when I was looking up everybody on this list, I knew Luplow had a good season last year, but I forgot how good it was. And I was like, there's no way that he's doing this again. But I think he's a solid everyday outfielder now. And I think he's established himself as that.
And I also don't think he's a bad defender by any means. I think he can hold his own out there.
I think he'll outduel Greg Allen for that outfield spot.
Maybe. We don't know. Greg Allen is feisty.
Gives you competitive at bat every time, doesn't go down easy. He might not get a base.
Exactly.
He's getting in the pitcher's head.
Alrighty.
Number 25, Alex.
Pick number 25 for me. I'm going to go with one of the players who hasn't made his major league debut yet. And that's Nick Gordon.
All right.
Nick Gordon was good in AAA last year.
Yeah, one of the few prospects on this list.
Yeah, he's quick. Obviously, he's a Gordon. He's got a little bit of power too. And his on-base percentage was pretty solid last year in AAA. The power numbers may be helped by the certain balls they were playing in AAA last year, but still, he could hit last year. And I think if the Twins weren't that good, he would have been in the major leagues last year probably, and probably deservingly so. This year, I don't see how he doesn't make it at some point. So I like Nick Gordon as a prospect, and I'll go with him here.
No, I'm surprised they didn't trade him last year because they have a lot of guys who can play in the middle of that infield. Arise, Polanco, just guys who can probably have better hit tools than him. Not nearly as fast. Astadio. I don't know if Astadio can play up the middle, but I'm not going to
shortstop Astadio.
But yeah, Nick Gordon. I think they should have traded him last year, get a little bit of rotation help. But
yeah, especially because in
not.
2018 he was great in AA, got moved up to AAA, was pretty bad. And then last year he had an OPS above 800 last year in AAA. So yeah,
that's great for a guy that has decent defense up the middle and is fast. Very
14
fast.
stolen bases.
Yeah,
I had him number 29. At Nick Aguilar, I've got to ask you: is he still rapping?
He is still rapping.
Excellent.
So I don't listen to any of his music, but I know that he is. I do know that the first time he ever released some music, I listened to it. It was decent, but ever since then, I'm like, I'm not going to listen to Nick Gordon rap anymore.
All right. Well, it is. You are on the board with pick number 26.
All right, I'm going to go with a guy that last year had an ERA over 4, but outpitched, had very good FIP, very good WHIP. This guy's on a contender. Low strikeout numbers, but also low walk numbers. Guy that just stays around the zone and gets guys swinging and putting balls in play and lets the defense do the work. That's going to be Ryan Yarbrough, who was the 111th pick in 2014.
Was the next player on my board, and when you started describing him, I typed in his name before you said his name because I knew exactly who you were talking about.
Yeah,
opener.
Yeah, not much to talk about with him though, because he gets that opener, but he's just kind of a boring guy where he doesn't really get any strikeouts, doesn't have any electric stuff, but just knows how to pitch.
My favorite Ryan Yarbrough moment was there was a game in Seattle where he had a shutout going. He was through 8 2/3 innings, hadn't given up a run. There's nobody on the bases, and it was a 1-0 Rays lead. It was 99 pitches, so it wasn't as if he was laboring. And with 1 out remaining, Kevin Cash came out and took him out, and it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. I don't know why I thought that was so funny, but he brought in Emilio Pagan to get the save, and I just enjoyed that. It seemed like he was just messing with the fans at that point.
Yeah, he kind of just shoved it into the Mariners' face right there.
All right, well, I have pick number 27 waiting for me. I'm going to go with a fellow who's ranked number 23 on my big board, and that is a man who is now going to be a lot better than he was before because he has a really good veteran who plays the same position as him who can teach him down at the bullpen. This man was picked in the 19th round and with the 558th pick out of the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. I'm going to go with Aaron Bummer.
Also the next guy on my list.
Had a 2.13 ERA. Now, the FIP was higher, 3.41. The year before, he reversed at a 4.26 ERA, a 2.4 FIP, but averages not quite strikeout per 9, 8.3. The walks are a little high, but I think he's going to be a solid to late inning reliever for years to come.
His ERA plus was 2.16 last year.
It's pretty good.
Absurd. Huh.
One of the few relievers that I would take in this draft.
Can't complain.
No,
his numbers are insane from last year. The FIP 3.4 is pretty good. Sub-1 WHIP. Yeah.
And you do wonder about the Cishek effect now that he's playing with Steve.
Oh yeah. Hopefully he gets to play with Steve this season.
Hopefully,
Aaron Bummer comes out throwing submarine ball.
Keeps throwing those sinkers out there. He might get him to roll over. Might even get a base hit. You never know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Alex, you have number 28, your last pick, waiting for you.
My last pick. This is a guy who I considered a little earlier because in 4 minor league seasons, he has a sub-3 ERA in 78 starts. His only problem is he hasn't pitched since 2017, which is a major problem. But if they can somehow get Brett Honeywell right, and he's only 25 still, then, I mean, he's got ace stuff and was on track to becoming the Rays ace. So I'm going to go with the massive high risk, very, 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 very high risk, but very high reward player here. So, yeah.
And Mr. Screwball himself.
Yep. The mullet rocking screwball throwing son of a gun.
My favorite thing about Brent Honeywell was when he was still a prospect, and he, I guess he technically is still a prospect, but he had he had 0 days of service time, and he started mouthing off to the Tampa Bay media about how Chris Archer is a horrible available leader while Archer was still on the Rays. I just found he was 22 years old. I found that really funny.
And
Maybe that's why they traded him.
Yeah, that's why they traded him. Now he's got them Austin Meadows and Tyler Glass now.
See, Honeywell, he gets things for your team if you need it.
Honeywell's playing chess, not checkers.
Of course. Yeah, it is a shame what has happened to him as far as the injuries. But I mean, who knows? Who knows what 2021 looks like for him? So
Yeah, very fun guy to watch when he is throwing, especially watching him throw that screwball all the time.
maybe that probably screwed up his arm, but
Probably, but I just want to see him throw it because it's fun to watch.
And nobody throws.
I don't care if it tears up his UCL.
Yeah.
Just keep throwing it, Brent.
Yeah.
All right, pick number 29.
Pick number 29. Oh, man. Alex took the last guy I was excited about on this list because the rest of them are boring. I guess I'll go with the guy that has a little bit of a track record. I'll go with the guy who was 21st overall pick, playing alongside Jordan Luplow now, and that's going to be Bradley Zimmer.
Huh.
I didn't have him on my list.
Yeah, well, the injuries scared me away from Bradley Zimmer, and the fact that it's a 71 OPS plus when he's played.
Yeah, the next guy on my list after him was Jordan Montgomery, and I wasn't too excited about him either.
I actually had Montgomery at like 29 on my list.
I had him at. I had Montgomery at 25. At number 24, I had a member of the Giants organization. Was drafted out of Rockland High School in California with the 4th round pick, 118th overall. I'm going to take Logan Webb, the hard-throwing right-hander, who was suspended for PEDs last year, put up 0 WAR in his rookie year last year, although he was a 22-year-old. And I've seen him. He throws hard. Still needs to locate the fastball better, but he definitely has strikeout stuff. He struck out a whole bunch of D-backs in his debut. And I think that there's a chance there that he has the, I don't know, but the ace upside. He has the number 2 upside. And if that doesn't work, then he's a reliever.
Fair enough.
Yeah, fair.
I don't think there's a lot else. All right, folks.
Pretty straightforward.
How many players did you guys have in your league that did not end up getting drafted?
I
had 5.
I already listed one in Montgomery. I had 3 after that.
I had about 4. I had 5. I had 5.
All right. Well, I had Jordan Montgomery, number 20.
I had him as well.
Right below him, I had Jordan Yamamoto.
Yamamoto, I had at
Yamamoto.
29.
I had him at 26.
At number 27, I had Daniel Ponce de Leon.
Who I had at 28.
I didn't have him on here, actually.
At number 28, I have a feeling I'm the only one who said Austin Gomber.
Yep,
Yeah,
you were
I
the
did
only
not.
one with Austin Gomber on your list.
Yeah.
I will say his big league numbers were pretty good before he got injured last year. In 2018, had a 4.03 FIP. So who knows?
He'll be a competitive balance pick.
And then at number 30, I had another guy who I think that I'm the only one to have on here, and that was Dan Altavilla.
Yeah, you were the only one.
The only guy that wasn't listed for mine was Isan Diaz, who I had at 30.
I had Isan Diaz as well. I had him at 22, actually. I was considering him, but I wanted to pick Honeywell because I really wanted to pick Honeywell.
I'm very far out on Isan Diaz.
He crushed AAA last year. But I mean, I get it. Everyone kind of crushed AAA, but a 973 OPS is really, really good. Yeah, I don't know. He really was bad in the majors, but that's kind of hard to overlook. That's worth the risk for me.
Yep.
All I want to say about Dan Altavilla is he's already made 95 big league appearances and a 3.63 ERA out of the pen.
Not bad.
Yeah, that's good.
Also 0.9 WAR, so take that.
Yeah, take that with a grain of salt.
Well, I had 17 honorable mentions here. Do we want to go through some of them?
Go ahead.
I haven't said my last guy, my top 30.
Who is
Go
it,
for
Alex?
it.
I had him at 30, and it's Ryan O'Hearn.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Who has extreme raw power. Fangraphs
has not
said that. I've watched him.
tapped into it yet.
a lot. He has not tapped into it. Maybe this goes from the fact that I covered the Royals this spring. But I got to watch him hit a lot, and just my God, the power. I mean, just when he hits BP, he was like hitting it on top of like the clubhouse and stuff. It was just nuts. So the big thing is if he puts it together and uses that power, that's could be pretty good. I think it's kind of worth the risk here. He was pretty good in AAA too. He just really didn't figure it out in the majors.
I think he's a bit of a fraud.
Yeah, I think he's a platoon guy, but he definitely has I think he has high potential platoon guy.
All right. Well, Andrew, do you want to list your honorable mentions real quick?
Yes, here were 17 players I had listed. Didn't end up ranking. Tukey Toussaint, Josh James,
Okay.
Justice Sheffield, Justin Anderson, Jonathan Holder, Jalen Beeks, Greg Allen, who we mentioned before. Well, I guess it's actually 15 because I listed Sheffield and Toussaint twice. Tyler Beatty, Daniel Mengden, the respected right-hander Jeff Hoffman.
Jeff Hoffman was the 9th overall pick in this draft.
Yeah.
By the Blue Jays.
And he's about to get DFA'd once the season starts. I had totally a catcher, Alex Jackson.
Good old Alex Jackson.
He is the 6th overall pick in this draft.
Good old Alex Jackson.
This guy was the quickest player to the big leagues, Brandon Finnegan, out of this draft.
Now pretty much out of baseball.
But he did pitch in the World Series, in the College World Series in the same year. No one will ever take that away.
No one.
Even though he's not in the majors anymore.
And in a high leverage spot in the 6th inning, Ned Yost brought him in with Kelvin Herrera, Greg Holland, and Wade Davis in that bullpen. He said, "Nope, I'm going to Brandon Finnegan," who gave up the go-ahead hit.
Well, Andrew, you need Herrera for the 7th, Davis for the 8th, and Holland for the 9th. You can't mess with the feng shui.
Maybe, hear me out. What if Finnegan just had the closer's mentality?
Oh.
He couldn't get the adrenaline up. Couldn't get the adrenaline up in the 6th, so he said, "You know what? I can't really pitch right here, so I'm gonna give up the go-ahead hit."
Fair. That's very fair.
Well, here's another fellow who. Well, I guess Brandon Finnegan does have a World Series ring, although he wasn't on the team at the time that they won. Here's a fellow who was in the organization, Eric Fetty. We mentioned Bradley Zimmer already, and then I saw in person a few months ago with one Nick Aguilar, and that is Cole Tucker.
Yes. Great guy.
All right, well, let's go over the teams real quick. Alex drafted first. He got Matt Chapman, Trey Turner, Luke Weaver, Kyle Schwarber, Michael Kopech, Sean Newcomb, Mitch Keller, Dylan Cease, Nick Gordon, and Brent Honeywell. Nick Aguilera went second. He drafted Jack Flaherty, Reese Hoskins, Ramon Laureano, Brian Anderson, Kyle Freeland, Michael Chavis, J.D. Davis, Lane Thomas, Ryan Yarbrough, and Bradley Zimmer. And I drafted third. I went with Aaron Nola, Michael Conforto, Alex Verdugo, Brandon Woodruff, Carlos Rodon, I should say, John Means, Spencer Turnbull, Jordan Luplow, Aaron Bummer, and the respected giant Logan Webb. All right, well, that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
This the bottom of the draft was definitely much better than 2015 was.
Still not close to 2016, which was a very fun draft, but
well, we don't. Well, the thing about 2016 is you don't totally know yet either.
Yeah, you don't totally know, but there's also guys that like. I think the 22nd player on my list was AJ Puck, so it's like guys
that's pretty.
It was pretty deep. 2015 22nd guy on my list was Willie Calhoun.
That's good. That's better than this draft.
Not really, because the 19th guy on my list was Alex Young.
Oh. Why?
I had Ian Happ at 12.
No.
Because that's how shallow this draft was.
Wait, why was Willie Calhoun behind these guys?
Because Willie Calhoun cannot catch a baseball.
I mean...
It's very true.
Okay.
I've got a quick game for you on here. So Logan Webb was the last player to be drafted in this draft. I'm going to go through the 2015 bottom up. Tell me when the first player is that you would rather have than Logan Webb. All right. I'm going to start with the 30th pick from the 2015. Nick Neidert. Who would you rather have?
Webb, probably.
Probably Webb.
Well, this one might be over quick. What about the number 29 pick, Josh Naylor?
Probably Naylor.
Is there a neither option?
What about Ryan
Ryan who?
Helsley, the Cardinals reliever?
Probably Helsley.
I think I'd rather have Ryan Helsley.
All right. Well, there were not as many players as in that, but at least the number 30 pick is better than Nick Neidert. Well, I think it's time to sign off here, folks. I had a lot of fun. My name is Andrew Varga. You can follow me on Twitter at Andrew_Varga. Do you guys want to get handles?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at by Nick Aguilera.
And mine is at Alex J, just the letter J, Weiner, Weiner.
What does the J stand for?
It stands for J.
For J. All right.
His middle
middle
name
name?
is J.
It's J.
Well, Steve Cishek's middle name is R. So, respect it.
It's
Is
R.
it R like just the letter R, or is it spelled out?
I looked on Wikipedia. It says Stephen R. Oh, it does have a dot after it now.
Oh, let's find out.
It has
on
not
Baseball
always-
Reference.
It has not. I don't believe Baseball Reference lists it.
It does not list it. It's just Stephen R. Cishek.
Maybe that's
Well,
it. R. Yeah.
We do not know what that R stands for. It has a dot after it, so I assume that it stands for something, but we don't quite know. All right. Well, for the 14th inning stretch, for the Cal Cordial Project, we are going to sign off. We hope you enjoyed the 2014 MLB Redraft. 2013 will be coming soon. That's a very good draft. And I hope that everybody listening has a very good night, morning, or afternoon, depending what it is.